All right, so I just came back from Atlanta, from Render ATL, and it inspired me to go to one of my local tech meetups. I'm an hour south of Dallas, so I went to Dallas, and basically the comparison is like Render, but how Render is set up. The one in Dallas is one room, and people use the same like phrases, and it's way more local and it's pretty comfortable. So it's pretty similar, but there's a lot of more new developers going, so it isn't as daunting as going to Atlanta and seeing all these people that have been in the industry for 10 plus years and whatnot. People are just wanting to learn, people are interested in making the transition, and it's a lot more familiar if you're a newer developer. But there's also experienced developers as well that are doing keynotes and stuff like that. For example, like there was Sarah Shook. She taught us how to set up a Vite project using React, TypeScript, and Tailwind, and that was a really big help because like newer developers, we just know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, stuff like that. So using TypeScript and Tailwind is really useful for newer developers. But another, like, there's just so much information from all of the speakers. But another powerful tool that one of the speakers highlighted, Devin Coyer, he highlighted the power of JSON server. So you use dummy data in place of an AI. You can use CRUD methods like create, read, update, delete, those type of get, patch, all those just with JSON server. So you don't have to run to Firebase, whatever backend you're using to, be expensive on the back end. So, but there's also XR. That's, in my opinion, that's the future of software development with all the new technology coming out. So you get that. So also one of the biggest reasons why I went to this one in particular was because Danny Thompson was a keynote speaker. He talked about breaking up code and um, making it reusable and readable, and something that newer developers, is a good reminder to have. So yeah, and lastly but not least, there was Curtis Ivy, and he taught us about the using hooks, more specifically use window width, just to make it more reusable when you're like rendering components, because like certain things on the phone is like very narrow and you have less width to work with. But when you try to deploy it on a bigger screen like a desktop, you have to expand your components to be more palatable to a bigger screen. And then if you ever done front-end web development, going from a smaller screen to a bigger screen or a bigger screen to a smaller screen is hard, and you have to set up your CSS a certain way. So he taught us about that, and funny enough, it was his first time speaking and he did it really well. So also the MC Danny Thompson, he even highlighted the fact that like if you ever want to do a keynote or have a talk, you're more than free to get some pointers or have a mentor that's in the Discord for Dallas software developers, and you can get your first taste of keynote speaking and public speaking from there. So if you're interested in that, that's great. I would be interested in it perhaps, so later down the line. But there's just so much opportunity that you can get to like get your feet wet in a local tech meet rather than going to a big tech conference. Even though like I'm not knocking like big tech conferences because they brought me to the local scene, but you are making a big commitment to going to New York, San Francisco, Atlanta, like an $800 ticket for just to go see what it's about. Like you can just go for free, meet people, get ingratiated into the culture, and then when you go to the bigger tech conferences, then you already know people. People know you. People know other people, so you can meet other people, stuff like that. Like what I did, I just went with my friend. And we just networked that way. But luckily, it worked out for the both of us because we had a good time. So yeah, but going back to the local scene, like developers of all skill levels can benefit from going to their local tech meets because new developers, like I said, they get ingratiated in the culture. But now that I think about it, it should almost be a requirement to go to your local tech meetup, because if you're new and you go to a larger tech conference, you don't know if you can network and hold a technical conversation with someone. But if you go to your local tech meetup, you can decipher if you can thrive in that kind of environment rather than go to a larger tech conference for $800 and only have one shot at networking. But if you go to your local tech meetup, you can have practice. So that's why I recommend going to your local tech meetup as well. So yeah, that's basically my experience at my first local tech meet, and I plan on going back and going to more tech meets in the local area. So I recommend it. Thank you for watching.